what you want. You hello, hello. Hey, Sharon. All right, guys. Just gonna wait for some people to get here, let everybody gather, and in the meantime, if you have your stone or whatever surface that you're gonna work on today, surfaces, we'll probably need 2 today. You want to go ahead and put your base coat on. We're going to talk a little bit, so now is a good time to put the base coat on so that it can dry. I did the top earlier, and now I'm just putting the paint on the bottom so that that is done too. It's completely your choice if you want to paint the bottom as well with your base coat. Totally up to you, but I figured now is a good time to do it. Hey, Sharon. Hey, Geraldine. Happy Easter to you, too. Hey, Axel. How you doing? Hi, Elizabeth. How's it going in Wasaga Beach? Good morning, Barb. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm excited for today. So if you have your pieces that you're going to paint today, now is a good time to paint your base coat if you are going to use a base coat color. I always recommend black because it's a nice, easy thing to be able to fix any mistakes. It covers nicely. But, and yes, I did, Sharon. Yes, I did. My brain was working for me today. So we've got an auction going on. I'll show you guys what this is. If you're watching the recording, I apologize. This auction is only live until the 10th of April, but in a minute here, once I get this painted, I will show you the 2 pieces that are up for auction. Certainly zero pressure to place a bid if it's not for you, but if you feel called to do so, check in the Facebook group for Mandala Addicts by Mandala Love Affair or on my page. If you would be willing to share it to try and help us raise some money, we are donating it to the Native Women's Association of Canada. Any additional proceeds that we get are in hopes to help funding assistance for missing and murdered Indigenous women in Canada. That's the charity that Molly and I talked about and wanted to do. So that is what is happening. So there's a post there. The auction goes until 12 noon next Saturday. And let me just grab the stones and I'll show them to you. So this is a collaboration between me and Molrocks, Molrocks on Instagram. And so this is her stone. Isn't it freaking beautiful? She did such a beautiful job. It's got some felt on the bottom so it won't scratch your surfaces and sits nicely. And then this one is my stone. We picked the same size stone and we picked similar colors so that they would be a really pretty set to go together. So this is the 2 of them together. They look pretty nice, eh? So these are the ones that are being auctioned off. So if you feel called to do so, if you could share it, that would be absolutely amazing. Try and get it in front of more eyes if we can and see if we can get some good bids and raise some money for a really cool charity. So, all right, let me see here. You're doing okay, Axel? That's good. We're glad you're here. You are almost all well. Well, that's good. Hi, Rex. How you doing? I'm so glad you guys are here. Aren't they beautiful? They turned out so well. And if you're not already following Molrocks on Instagram, please go check her out. She is so freaking talented, and she has got one of the purest, kindest hearts I think I have ever come across. She is absolutely delightful and so incredibly kind. Just grabbing my water here. Gotta have some water. All right, you guys, so are you ready to jump in? And we are going to do two different things. So let's recap what we did last week. Recovering from a couple days of severe sinus issues. Oh, that's painful. I'm so sorry to hear that. Hey, Brianna. Looks like everybody's, it is. I think it's one of those weeks where it's just been heavy in the atmosphere, right? So this is one of the ones that we started last week. So the premise of these 2 weeks is painting on stones, adapting for the curved surfaces, and creating this simple pattern that is easily repeatable and a great, great way to practice your spacing and to get to know your tools and your paints. So they gradually go from smaller to larger. And see how this one here has spaces in between that we could even add a little accent detail in between each one. Now, this is another one from last week, just showing some of the different ways that you can fill in spaces, right? To fill in those rows. So, this is a great base pattern, like I said, to be practicing. Practicing your spacing, getting used to how to create these nice circles of dots around a center dot without having guidelines there. And this is the same pattern that we're going to use to create a spiral. So what's really cool about this particular design is you could create so many different patterns with so many different color combinations and only need to learn one design. It's absolutely very, very versatile and so many options. Even just changing the color combos is going to make a big difference, right? So what we discovered though, when we were looking at this one, that's okay, Kim. So to bid on the stones that are up for auction, if you go to my Instagram, Mandala Love Affair on Instagram, and look at today's post, and you can bid there. And the auction closes at 12 noon on Saturday, next Saturday. So one thing to notice, because this is one of the things that we're going to work on today. So we're not only going to do the spiral, but see how in this design, we've got lots of space. So this blue dot doesn't go down very far in between those teal dots. Now, if we move out the spacing, we can create this kind of interlocking look here. So this is the other thing we're going to work on today, because I played with it a little bit on this stone, and this is what it looks like on this particular stone. So instead of keeping those rows very separate, so again, just like on here, oh, you're welcome, Kim. So just like on this one here, where again, the pink doesn't go down super far, right? There's not as much spacing in there to fit a dot down. So we're going to play with the spacing on this one to create this kind of interlocking pattern. Now, the one thing that's really important, we are going to do this one second because the spiral is honestly the easier of the two. This is one that, for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So right out here to this blue line where my thumb is, that's 8 rows. So it's a much slower going one, especially in the beginning, but I've got a couple different ideas that we're going to play with together to get that spacing down so that we can kind of progress this a little bit faster. But we're going to start with the spiral. So if you have stones today, if you have something like a coaster size, if you have a small canvas, if you have a large canvas, it doesn't matter. We can do these designs on all of them. And we are going to go with the natural center of your stone if you have a pre-made stone. If you are using a natural stone, you're still just going to kind of eyeball a center. It does not need to be perfect. The spiral is going to look gorgeous no matter what, okay? So, for a spiral, what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to choose 2 colors. And I'm only going to choose 2 colors because I want it to be super easy for you guys to visualize how the setting up of these dots is going to go. Okay, so I need to pick 2 colors. So let's have some fun with this one. Let's go with, I'm going to go with this, I think I'm going to go with this metallic. Jan, So as you get further out and dots get bigger and bigger, it doesn't seem to work on the spiral. Can we look at that when you get to the spiral? I'm not 100% sure I know what you mean, Jan, but yes. So we'll start slower and then jump in and tell me when we're at the spot where you have the question, and we will continue to go with that 100%. Okay. So I'm choosing 2 colors. Like I said, I'm just going to grab a little paint palette here. Bear with me. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not going to use metallics. Metallics can be kind of sticky. So I'm actually going to choose 2 completely different colors. Metallics are good, but for when you're beginning, when they can be kind of sticky, it's not terribly enjoyable to paint with them. Sometimes they can get really frustrating. So looking at my color palettes over here, all the colors I have, I'm thinking that I would like to do, thinking. What do you think of a teal and a purple? How about we do this teal and this kind of, oh no, this one's pretty. This kind of bluey purple. Okay, and we'll leave some space for some little white accents too, but let's do these ones first. So I'm giving my paints a good shake. And you can do this with a bunch of different colors, but I'm going to show you a couple of tricks. Ugly orange and green. Would that maybe be easier to pick some really different colors to make it very, very obvious in the spiral? Should I do that? Hey, Pam. So we could do ugly orange and lime green. We could do that. What do you think? Do we want this to be pretty, or do we want this to be easy to visualize? I don't know if I can do the orange, and I can't do the orange and the green, Jan. I can't do it. But you know what I can do? I can do sage and coral. Let's do that. Let's do sage and coral, because they'll still stand out really well. All right, so giving them a good shake. Getting a bunch of paint. I'm just doing straight out of the bottle. We don't have to mix any fancy colors or anything. Hello, Sue. Thanks, Brianna. Glad you guys are here. Thanks for coming. It's nice to meet all of you. All right, so let's try this. So these should be pretty good ones to see if we go with the coral and the green. Sound good? All right, so what I'm going to do is I am going to move this back because I need to be able to dot on top of it a little bit. And I'm going to move it over here. Is this okay for an angle for you guys? I can always delve in a little bit deeper if we need to as we get going, okay? So there's a couple different things that I do when I am using a stone like this to get it on the actual center. The center is marked. You can see this little nib that's on there, and that's there when these come out of the mold. If you're not using one of these stones and you're using just natural stone, you can just put your center dot anywhere you'd like, okay? So what I'm going to do though for myself, because I'm using this molded stone, I'm using a stencil that I got from Happy Dotting Company. That's where I got the molds from the stones as well. And I'm not going to do anything more than mark my 12 like this, a nice little cross. And then I'm going to grab what's really handy for painting on stones if you want to draw any lines, and you could still practice this on a natural stone, just to get the practice in there. So I'm going to use my flexible tape measure because it curves nicely with the surface. The reason that I put these ones on here when I'm trying really, really hard to get it centered, and this would be even if I just really wanted it centered, you know, you measure it and you find your little center dot and you mark your dot. Having these lines here can be really helpful when you go to place your paint on here, because what I do is when I hold this down over this cross, I'm looking to see if this line here is splitting this tool in half, and then trying to see if it's doing it this way as well to try and get it as centered as I can. So let's see here. Let me just scroll back and catch everything. Okay, just so sage and coral's good. Okay, awesome. Great to have a Canadian live. Yay! Angle's good for you, Jan. Okay, awesome. Yep, Barb's Canadian too. We got lots of Canadians on here. All right. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do the sage green as my center dot. You can choose whatever size center dot you want. There is no need to pick something specific. You can do whatever one you want. I am going to do a size 21 in the DIY Mandala Stones. So these DIY Mandala Stones are the tools that I use. They're available on Etsy or on Amazon. And it's nice because they're numbered as well, so they can tell you what sizes you're using. Axel's Canadian too, that's right, too. So is you and Pam, that's amazing. Sue too, Christy is. This is so cool. All right, guys, so I'm going to use the sage green as my center dot. Okay, and I'm not putting a huge amount of paint on this tool because it is a little bit watery, and that's okay. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it to see if it looks like it's dividing it in half. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. It's totally okay. But let me show you something that just happened here. See how over here on the left and down here on the bottom, it's kind of pinched in a little bit? That's because of the wax in that pencil. So completely ignore me for a minute. I am going to rectify this by wiping that paint off. I'm going to repaint it really quickly in black, and then we will center in the other stone that I have. Because what I forgot to do, which is something that I do more often than I should probably admit, is I forgot to slightly erase those couple guidelines, those cross lines that I laid down. Whether you're using watercolor pencil crayon or a charcoal pencil, you're going to want to erase it a little bit because the wax in there is going to change the shape of your dots when you dot across those lines. So let me show you what I mean on this other one. So that one can go and dry. This is why I made two. This is good. All right, so let's try this again. Back to the stencil. Here we go. Putting in my lines, 2, 3, 4. Using my tape measure to draw this on. And then turning around. We have 42 people here today. Holy cow, this is cool. All right, so there is my center. Well, it's a little off center, but that's okay. I'm going to just slightly erase these lines. So they're still visible, but I'm going to be able to easily paint over them, and then with a wet cotton swab later, I'll be able to get rid of them. Let me see. Let me scroll back and catch up on the comments here for a second. Roscoe, Missouri. Hi, Elizabeth. Florida, Nancy. This is awesome. So many people coming out with new stones with bigger numbers. Yes, they are. I'm really excited to see those. Really, really excited to. So these little numbers are going to be bigger so you can see them better, which is really cool. And Christy's friend Sheena is joining today too. That's awesome. And Barb, my DIY tools are new and they absorb color so bad. Yeah, they are going to stain pretty quickly. What you really want to be aware of with these tools is not so much the staining, but the fact that the paint will dry on them very, very quickly and can build up. So I even go in with like a wooden toothpick or something. And one thing that I found works well, Barb, and I'll just move this stone for a second so I have this to rest on, is I'll use something wood and kind of try and scrape it off. And that will sometimes help me get some of that stained stuff off. It's hard to see here, and I know it's shaking and I apologize, but see how that kind of wipes some of it off? The wood tends to work as a semi-decent eraser. All right. Don't use any products on them. You can use a dry, mild cleanser. Yeah. So what I do with mine is I'll get like an old mason jar, put a little warm water and a teeny, 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 tiny drop of soap. and let them sit for 5 minutes or so. But you know what works really well is if you just get kind of a scrubby face cloth, like this one's really nubby, you can use one of those, and that helps a little bit too. And it hasn't taken any chunks out of my tools, which is good. Yeah, and only once a month. Try not to do them very often. Oh, that's a good idea, Sharon. Dip them in water. Hello in Italy, Flora. How are you? Hi, Gina. Welcome. Acetone on these ones, I've heard it eats away at the tools. How have you made with them? Yeah, keep a wet cloth next to you while you're painting. Yes, wipe the tools after each color. Wipe them multiple times as you're going through the whole process too. How you doing, Janice? Hey, Amy in Michigan. All right, guys, let's keep going here. We're going to try this again. So I'm back with the 21. These lines are slightly erased. So now you can also, if you use these molded stones, know that you can go in with a little sandpaper and you can flatten that if you want to too. Okay, so let's go in here, and that should be about right. Again, if you're using natural stone, please don't stress out about this. It's going to be beautiful no matter what, okay? Doesn't matter what size center dot you use. You can use whatever size center dot you want. And so now it comes the fun part, okay? I am going to go in with... I'm going to start as small as I possibly can. So the first row, we're going to go in with the smallest tool that you have to start to lay this all out. Black and red stain the most on, yes. Yeah, red's really bad. I figure it makes me look like a professional if they're all stained. You know what, it's funny because I wipe my tools an awful lot. I will wipe them on my hand. And I love when my hand is covered in paint at the end of the day. All right, let's keep going here, you guys. I'm just going to tilt this up a little bit, so hopefully you can see. Please let me know if the angle gets a little wonky, and we will keep trying here, okay? So we have our two colors. I've got my center dot color. I am now going to go in with the coral, and we are going to dot first at the poles. So even if you don't have these guidelines on here, don't worry about it. Right? And I'm starting super small. So we're going to dot at the North Pole, then I spin it around so I can do the North Pole again. I find that I get much straighter lines when I dot across from me. So I'm dotting at 12 o'clock each time. Spinning, 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 12 o'clock again. Okay. I start super, super small because I want to have a nice tight spiral in there in the middle. All right, so now that we've got those four, here, I'm even going to zoom in a little bit more and see if this helps too. I apologize if you see my nice dry hands in your face an awful lot here, but so now what I'm going to do is I'm turning it a quarter of the way, so I'm going halfway between these two dots and putting a dot there. Okay. And we're going to keep doing that. When you are going to stop, because you're not doing the entire row in this color, you want to leave enough space in between each of these colors to be able to add in a sage dot. So for example, I need to leave enough room between the coral dots so that I can put a sage dot in between. Okay? You make a mistake, it's okay. We can either go past it or you can paint over it in black. So I'm going to go back in here now and divide these sections in half again. And again, still dotting across from me. There's lots of dot artists that will do dot down here. It's completely up to you where you find you get your straighter lines. What I've found is that when I'm in front of me, I always kind of lean one way or the other, so they end up being slightly off center. That's where dotting across for me really helps with that. So here we go. We're going to keep going. So see this amount of space that I have here now? I'm going to be able to fit a sage green dot of the same size in between each of these. Oops, that one's a little small. And here we go again. Okay. Everybody doing okay so far? I missed the very beginning. How many colors are we working with today? 2 colors only. And once we get going with the 2 colors, then I can explain to you how you would do it if you had multiple colors. I haven't had that problem. I wipe them with acetone and wash them. That's really lucky, Pam. That's good. I'm glad you haven't had the problem. That's good. Okay, so now I'm going in with the sage, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to divide all of these sections in half. Right, same size dot right in between those 2 coral ones. So this is color number 2 or color number 1 if you want to count color number 1 as what your center dot is. The reason that I do the opposite color than what the center dot is because I just find visually it helps me get my spacing and everything, and feels a little satisfying to add in another color there and then to fill this one in. Okay, so we're going to keep going. Very quickly. Yeah, that makes sense, Pam. Maybe just as a, like, once they get really built up or something, right? And they need a really good cleaning. That's good, though. I'm glad that they've withheld that. That's wonderful. They're great tools, eh? There we go. We're going to just keep going until we've got them all filled in. Okay, so when you do this, now what you want to do is if you want to decide if you could have done this in multiple colors, what you kind of want to do is see how many dots are in between the North Pole and the East Pole, right? So if I have going from coral to coral, so I start with coral because I started it slightly off center here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right? You count to the last one, not to the last coral, because this is the start of the next one. So knowing that I could do an 8-color spiral, or I could do anything that is divisible by 8, right? So if I know if I've got 8 4 times, then I could do anything that can divide properly into 32. Okay, and that's how many colors you can choose. So I could do a 2-color, I could do a 4-color, or an 8-color. Okay. There we go. All right, so we're doing good so far. Once we've got our first row down, now we are going to move on to our second row. So I'm going with the DIY Mandala Stones tools, and I'm going to go with my size number 1 for the next row. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the sage green, and this time I'm going to put it, you can do it either just to the right or just to the left, but I'm going to put it just to the right. So see how it's just slightly larger? And just start putting it in there, just slightly to the right. Right? Just like we're putting them in those dips between the 2 dots, we're doing that, but just on the one side instead of doing an entire row. I love spirals. They're so much freaking fun. Now, I had the intention of getting next week's tutorial up and on the page, and because of, I say this a lot, but because of who I am as a person, that didn't happen this morning. So I wanted to let you know that we are going to work on 3D designs next week. We've done one 3D design tutorial already, but in this one, we are going to revisit that because it's a really cool technique. I'll show you in a second the one that we started on the last tutorial that I still need to finish, but you didn't hear that from me. And we'll go into that too. And it's another fun one that you can do on small things like stones. So none of the things that we're going to do for now are going to be really, really large. What I'm thinking of doing is for some larger projects, I might do that as kind of like a private class to say, hey, if we want to do something really large, we're going to need 2 or 3 sessions at a couple hours each, so we can work on a larger piece together. Okay, so see how they're all just to the right of the original row of green dots, okay? So now I'm going to go in with the coral and I'm going to fill in those spaces so that the coral is just to the right of the original row as well. When they're this tiny, this is when you're going to have to wipe off your tool a little more often when you're going for super tiny dots, because you're going to find that a little bit of paint buildup on your tool is going to have quite an impact on this, okay? And then just keep filling those in. And the cool thing is that this is all we need to do. We just need to keep going up in size. So as we get up in size, Jan, please make sure you jump in. I will keep an eye for your comments when you get to a point where your question comes into play. Because as we get going larger and larger, there's a couple of tricks to keep it looking still consistent. Just like when we were doing the gradual size increase from the center all the way out, we have to sometimes go up by more than one tool size. That dot was a little bit big, but that's okay. We'll deal with it. Oh, so was that one. That's all right too. That's better. Wipe off the tool again. We have 53 people here today, you guys. This is awesome. Hello, everybody. I think we are very, very close to hitting 200 people in the Facebook group as well. So if you guys are not already part of the Dot Mandala Addicts by Mandala Love Affair Facebook group, come and hang out with us. We're good people. Sharon, who is on here, is the admin for that group. And thank you, Sharon. She has just put together, in collaboration with other friends, Jan is actually the one who came up with the challenge for this month. And it's really, really cool. So really excited. See what happens when I show up? I'm glad that you're here, Elizabeth. So glad. You're in Wasaga Beach. You're not that far from me. That's cool. Oh, thank you, Diane. I know, I say A all the time. I used to sit there and say, don't say it, don't say it, don't say it, don't be the stereotype. I'm like, screw it, this is part of who I am. Let's go. Say that name again. I don't think I've joined that one. It is called Dot Mandala Addicts by Mandala Love Affair. One of these days, I will get myself together and I will make sure I add the link to the Facebook group to all future events for these tutorials so that that link will be in there as well. Oh. Yeah, they're not the colors that I would typically go with either, but they actually look nice and they show up really well, right? I am in just north of Port Hope, Ontario. All right, so now we're going to go in. I am going to go in with a size 2 now. Okay, the A is what makes us Canadian. That and the sorry, right? All right, so I'm going back in. You can pick and choose which color you want to start with, but I'm going in with the coral. And just going a little to the right again. Notice though that I'm not touching this tool all the way down. The coral is a thicker paint than the sage. The sage is waterier. So when I have a thicker paint, I dip the tool in the paint, and then I try to just hover and let the paint not have to touch the surface too hard. This again is just something really for when it's small dots, right? And just go slightly to the right. And slightly to the right again. And just keep going. See how this design is so good for practicing sizing and getting to know your paints and your tools and spacing and everything, right? Things are going to jump out at you in this pattern. And you're going to get a lot of clarity on what you like, what you don't like, and where you want to practice more. So I'm thinking on that, you guys. Do you think that that would be a fun one to do, like some private classes on larger pieces to do some bigger stuff together? If that's something you'd like, let me know. Christina McNeil, hi, I'm new to this hobby. I bought cups and tools, but I'm just watching today. That's okay. Lots of people just come and sit and hang out with us because we got some good atmosphere going on here and just relaxing and fun to hang out. So that's totally okay. If you're ever looking for any of my previous tutorials, they are available individually on my website. But I also have a Patreon, what gives you access to every tutorial I've ever done, and every single one of these tutorials that I do get posted in there as well. Patreon's like a monthly membership kind of idea, and it's I believe it's $18 a month Canadian, $13 a month US. Depends on the exchange rate, right? But about that. Jade, I'm using DIY Mandala Stones. These are available on Amazon or on Etsy, and they come in a whole bunch of different sizes. Like this is a size 1, and you can get them in a couple different size packs, and this one's a size 28. All right, let me just check and see. Post a pair of my new socks. They have a flag with the word sorry. That's amazing. You can see the spiral coming. Yay! Fantastic. Barb, are you getting in trouble again? Barb's the troublemaker. Amy, can you buy these stones or how do you make them? So I make them with gypsum powder. It's called UltraCal 30. I have to buy it from a sculpture supply place in Etobicoke, Ontario. And it comes in 50-pound boxes, which is lovely because it's very, very cheap. And then I have these molds. Let me show you. So this one actually used this mold here. It comes from the Happy Dotting Company is the company. It's on Etsy. So I make these. I do sell pre-made ones as well on my website. And so if you want to not have to make your own and just buy them, they are available on my website as well. You can also make them out of plaster of Paris. That's what I started with before I changed to gypsum. And plaster of Paris is a fantastic tool to medium to work with. It's very easy. You can buy it at Canadian Tire, Home Depot, any hardware store really. And the difference between it and the gypsum is it's not as strong. It's a little bit more powdery. And I have had plaster of Paris stones get damaged in travel. So I switched to this to be a little bit more durable. You're welcome, Jade. Watching and drawing a piece for a friend of mine who loves Beauty and the Beast. I'm drawing her as Belle. Oh, that's wonderful, Angela. What a wonderful gift. Hello in Minnesota, Monica. Good to see you. Glad you're here. She said everyone in the group is nice. I needed to clarify except for Janet Barb. That's amazing. Do I have all the links on my page? I don't have links for Happy Dotting Company on my page, but I have a link to my website for the pre-made stones. But I'll look at adding that in. You're welcome, Amy. All right, so going in with the next color again. So I'm back at a size 2, going in with the sage green and filling in all of these ones. This one I've actually had enough paint on there. I could do 3 dots without re-dipping in there. Again, though, I'm not putting the tool down super hard on the surface. Unless I need to. I want to try and keep the sizes uniform. Sometimes when I'm filling them in, I like to work along kind of the side because it helps me see the sizing. Eraser shaving. Yeah, for the stones, yeah. Yeah, you're welcome, Elizabeth. Now, I am going to confess that I pulled a couple of these out of my inventory on there, so just know that if you order a bunch of them, it might take me a week or 2 to get them made for you because I got to go buy more gypsum. And I don't think I updated my inventory after I grabbed these out of there. I know I didn't update my inventory after I grabbed these out of there. So, but I think there should be some there. And if you want to order a larger quantity than what is available through the website, please don't hesitate to send me a message and we can come up with a custom order for a custom number of them for you. Just knowing that, again, I ran out of gypsum, so I'm waiting until the week of the 12th. That's when I'm going to get more. And then I'll be able to make any number that you're looking to purchase, okay? I can make 1 stone I've got 2 molds, so I can do 2 stones every 2 hours. So it takes a little while in a process, but it's getting there. Oh, I'm glad you're loving the music, Diane. Jason Mraz is my spirit animal. And he lifts me up every single time. Geraldine, had to start over, smudge my paint. What's the size of the first one? I used a size 21 for my center dot. Can we backtrack for a second and repeat the size increase between rows? Sure. So the very first row, I chose my very smallest tool, which was actually my micro dotter, which is this metal one. This is available on Amazon. If you join the Facebook group, there is a link to this tool on Amazon on the Facebook group. If you want to buy this. It's a really cool tool. Then I went to the second row. I did a size 1 and then I did a size 2. Hope that helps. Now, because I wasn't pressing down very hard on this next row, I am going to try again with a size 2 again. Is this going to depend on your paints? Okay. But I wasn't pushing down very hard to get this, so I'm feeling like if I move up to a 3, it might end in a little frustration. So I'm going to try a size 2 again, but just pressing my tool down a little bit and see how it's that little bit bigger. That actually looks really good. So just that gradual increase. So if your paints are really thin, you might be up to a size 3 by now, right? But try it out and see if it's going to give you that space that you need to put that other dot in the middle. If it's too large, it's going to stand out to you. But this is how we learn too, right? The first time I did a spiral, I just was winging it the whole time and then just see how it looks when you come out at the end. But the pattern builds very quickly. And pretty much every tutorial that I do, you're going to hear Jason Mraz in the background. Keeps me focused on my goals. My goal is one day I'm going to paint a guitar for him. And he's going to fall in love with it and ask me to paint all of the stuff for a set for a concert and invite me to the farm, to the ranch, to paint a bunch of buildings on his farm. This is how I'm going to become friends with Jason Mraz. This is the delusional world that I live in. But you know what? Why the heck not? Okay, so there we go. Glad you got the group. This is a Canadian group. For everyone in Europe, Devon Dotting. Oh, good. Awesome. Perfect. Devon Dotting. And Devon Dotting's got some great molds. Some really, really cool molds. I got mine as a gift, but they are from Amazon, Diane. How did I miss that question? If my tools don't have sizes written on them, how do I know what size they are? You almost have to just try. This is where a test canvas is going to come in really handy, is to put dots down for each of the different tools that you have and then see and organize them by size and maybe number them yourself. That's an option too. Right, Diane? Totally. Do you add a floating medium to paint or water or straight paint? So when I'm using the craft acrylics out of the bottles, these craft acrylics, I don't add a pouring medium. That would be for if you're using the heavier bodied paints. Now, if you're using metallics or other paints that are really thick, you could use a couple of drops of pouring medium, or you could use a couple of drops of water and just kind of play with the consistency a little bit. The metallics haven't necessarily behaved the best with water. It's kind of like it's almost too thick and it separates, but so I will try pouring medium with that, but that's not something that I've done a lot of yet, and I tend to use the craft acrylics. If you're using like Liquitex Basics or any of the heavier bodied acrylic paints, then a pouring medium is definitely the way you want to go. Delicate Dots Andrea and Electric Mandala, they have some great videos on mixing paints for that stuff, if that helps. Or we can tag them in every one of your lives and posts. That's gonna happen because, yeah, the ideas that are going around in my head, you guys, you have no idea. I had a massive, massive download the other day, and I have a whole new vision with what I want to do with everything. And I will be happy to tell you all of that, but let's keep painting first and let me know. The Amazon links for the microdotting tool is in the Mandala Addicts group feed. Thank you, Sharon. That's awesome. Yeah, the microdotters are cool, eh? You're welcome, Monica. There's a conversion chart floating around for a bunch of different tools, so you can compare the DIY tools. Oh, that's amazing, Elizabeth. That's good to know. So many resources out there. I'll try and start compiling some of these resources. Or if you want to, if you join the group and you want to share a resource that you find, anything that you think would be useful to any of the other members in the group, please share that on the group. And share pictures of what you do in the tutorials or any projects you're working on. Even if it's not dotting, I don't care. If you're inspired to create something after sitting and hanging out with us for a little while, I don't care if it's dotting or not. Share that with people. We want to create this incredible little community that we can all be there and support each other and help each other grow in this, right? So that would be a great thing to post in the group if you join, if you haven't already. Okay, so notice how when I use the size 2 again with the sage, I got these nice larger dots. When I'm going in with the coral, however, I'm not, but it's already started to congeal. That's why. All right, sorry. So my paint's already started to congeal a little bit. So it kind of went a little gummy. So watch when I stir the sage. See how it's still nice, but it's starting to thicken up a little bit? That's what happened. It had almost like a little bit of film on top of the coral. So that was really quick. So what I'm going to do, and this is a great trick, is take a piece of paper towel and put some water on it. And this is going to help you conserve paints from day to day as well. So what I did is I have a piece of paper towel that's nice and wet, and I'm going to fold it over and just place it on top of the paints. So I'm going to move this back and forth, and I'm actually going to pour a new little bit of coral because that stuff was pretty gummy, and I don't want to create clumps in there. All right, so there we go. So now I'm going to put this over top of the green, and we'll go back in with the coral. So I'm going to try again with the size 2. And then we'll go from there. All right, let me just check. Yeah, same for DIY dotting tools. Awesome, yes. I'd really be interested in seeing this chart if you run across it. Yeah, that'd be amazing. If you can, Elizabeth, that'd be awesome. Thank you. Hi, Renee. How's it going? Etsy sells a digital download of this chart pretty cheap. Just type in Mandala Tool Comparison Chart. Oh, fantastic. Thanks, Jan. That's awesome. All right. So I'm going back in with the size 2 because adding more paint to the size 2 worked for me with the green. And it's going to work again now that my paint isn't all gummy. So perfect. So you're going to find that sometimes where you can just add more paint. Oops, helps if you can see the stone. Sometimes you can just add some more paint to the tool. So picking up some more paint on the tool. So that's another thing to watch for, though. If you leave your paints out for quite some time, this really hasn't been that long that was uncovered, right? And it already started to kind of get all congealy and clumpy, right? And if I stirred that in there, all those clumps would be in that paint, and that would definitely impact your dot size if you grabbed one of those clumps by accident. It's going to happen, but it's not, and it's not a huge deal, but it's definitely something to keep your eyes open for. So we're just filling this in. How are we doing so far, you guys? Everybody doing okay? Thank you. If you haven't listened to the new Jason Mraz album, oh my gosh, like I can't listen to it and not be happy. I burst with love every single time I hear it. It just brightens my whole world. And he's gone back to his reggae influence too, which is super fun. All right, here we go. So now moving on to size 3. I just got to clean off my tool. Look at how dirty my tool is. Isn't that terrible? That is called lazy cleaning between colors. So I'm just going to scrape some of that off if I can. The multi-surface paints are really bad. I find they build up on the tools a lot more than the regular craft acrylics. And because I've been doing so many mugs, it's been building up a little bit thicker. And they don't scrape off and clean off as well. All right, here we go. All right. Oh, good. I'm glad you're doing good, Renee. That's amazing. Yep, living and learning. That's all we can do. To the right, right? We can just start saying, to the left, to the left, to the left. But you can start to see the spiral coming into play, right? I'm loving on AJR. What's AJR? Making bread, listening to this. Nice. That's awesome, Christina. Bread. You know what my new snack obsession is? I went to the bulk barn the other day and I bought like $6 worth of croutons and I just sit and eat those all day. Oh, good, Sharon. I'm glad your laryngitis is gone. Just watching, tried to make some stones and none dried. Oh, that happens. That's okay. Next time. Any tips on clearing out your little pots when you're done with a particular color? So there's two different ways you can do it. You can leave it dry and then you can kind of scrape it off. If it's already completely dry, put a little bit of water in that pot and then it should just come right out. I buy a lot of popsicle sticks from the dollar store because they clean out the palettes really nice and easily. And it's a little bit of ASMR seeing all of them come out. If the paint is still fairly wet, then just use a damp cloth. Double check your measurements of cement and water. Very good. Okay, awesome. All right, here we go. Next row. I'm on a size 3 now. I'm going to stick with the coral. And we are going larger. What you're going to start to pick up on is as you start to get larger and larger dots, you're going to become very aware of the space that is in between the coral and the sage dots. If that space starts to get bigger than what you want to see it, then you're going to want to increase your size of tool. So just because I'm going up by 1 right now, at some point I'm going to end up going up by 2 sizes just because the spaces are going to get bigger and bigger between the colors. Okay. Going to the right. Geraldine, how is Miss Carrie? Is she doing good? Please give her my love. Geraldine is the mom of one of my dear, dear friends from when I was living on the east coast of Canada. Back in the dealer mine days. It's a company that we worked for where we met. All right. All right, let me scroll back. Oh, cool. Awesome. I'll check them out, Diane. Thank you. You know, you can make your own croutons. That's true. Just it's because that's all it is stale bread. These are really nice. So they're nice and salty and they're garlicky and everything. But I should look into that. Make my own. Just get a loaf of bread from the dollar store and save myself some money. What is the material called you're using to make stones again? Writing notes. Okay, so that is gypsum. It's a brand called Ultra Cal 30. And it's gypsum. GYP as in Paul, S as in Sam, UM. And it's Ultra Cal 30. So Ultra Cal and then the number 30. When I make my plaster stones, I use about half the water that's on the directions. That can help sometimes too. The gypsum is really nice and easy to mix. I'm really, really impressed with how easy it is. I use Ultra Cal 30. Yes, that is the same. Also, after you pull your stone out of the mold, it needs to sit for close to a week to completely dry all the way through. Yes, thank you so much, Rex, for pointing that out. Maybe we'll do that for a tutorial one day, is we'll actually sit and make a bunch of stones. Yeah, once they come out of the mold, they need to sit and dry for, I leave mine for 7 days to make sure they're good and dry. Elizabeth, does anybody know if the stones don't dry, can you pound it back into powder? That I don't know. Hey, Noreen, how are you? Oh, I'm so glad, Geraldine. Chemical reaction happens once. Oh, okay, gotcha. Will you refit the center dot? Yes, so this is happening because I didn't file down that dot in the middle. So remember how there was that raised dot in the middle of these stones to help mark the center? It's because I didn't file that down. I will on the next one. And yeah, once I add a couple more, I'll probably put some top dots on here and we'll figure that out. Also make crackers. Yum. Love carbs. Oh, yay, Noreen. What colors what did you choose? Where do you purchase your molds? I get the molds from, Happy Dotting Company. They are on Etsy, and I believe they have a website as well. All right, going in with the green. So see how I'm still getting those dots nice and close together, right? So this is how I'm knowing that the size tool I'm using is a good size, because I am not creating excess space between all of my dots. If I was using a smaller tool, then there would be almost too much space in between the orange and the sage, or the coral and the sage. Okay. See that spiral starting to develop though? I did one once where I got going with it, and then halfway through I decided I was going to change the direction of the spiral. So like in the next row I would start going to the left. You can do anything you want with this. Remember that. There are no rules. So play with it. And I'm sure you can imagine just by switching up the colors and coming up with different color combos and ideas for top dots, and maybe in one of them you want to space the spiral out more, so you would leave more space in between these dots going all the way around. Kind of like we did with this stone, remember, where there's lots of space here, so I could put a little dot in between the purples for example. You can always change your spacing on the spiral so you have that kind of space to do that as well. And there we go. Okay, now I'm going up to a 4. Oh, and let me... Oh, birthstones. Oh, fantastic. Oh, that's good to know, Jan. I didn't know Happy Dotting Company was on Amazon. Fantastic. May have just found a lead for a Canadian mold maker. Oh, that's actually another person that I use. I use Piesa, P-I-E-S as in Sam, A, Supply. They are Canadian. They are in Markham. And she's absolutely delightful as well. She has made a mold for me. She made the mold for me that comes out with, see how tiny that stone is? Look at this little nugget. So I have a mold that pulls out 7 of these stones at a time. And she actually also created a bunch of letters for me. So I actually have my name, my Mandala Love Affair, in gypsum letters that I'm going to paint too. She has a lot of cool ones. So P-I-E-S as in Sam, A, Piesa Supply, and that's on Etsy. Fantastic. Let me know who you got, Elizabeth. I'm dying to know. This is about where mine starts getting way too much space between the dots. I'm laying them and it gets huge amounts of space between. Okay, so what that means then, Jan, is that you need to increase your tool size. So go up 1 extra tool size. So on this one, if I was going to use a 4 and I'm starting to get too much space, go to a 5. Okay, cannot keep it tight when it gets bigger. Increase your tool size. Don't get stuck in the must go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go 1, 2, like for me, I went micro 1, 2, 2, 3. Then I'll probably go 4 and then 6 and then 8 and then maybe 11, jumping up by 3. It just means that you need to go up a size in your tools. No, that's totally cool, Elizabeth. Let me know how you make out. And yeah, check out Piesa Supply. I'll show you the mold that she did for me. It's this one. So I can get 7 stones out of that, of those little ones. She has all different sizes too. And she has heart molds. as well. You can get ones that are heart-shaped in a couple different ways. And check on Amazon too, because you can get all kinds of molds that are silicone molds on Amazon too. Okay, try that, Jan. Let me know how you make out. So if you're supposed to do a 4 on the next row, go up to a 5. I'm going to try with a 4. I always do the trial and error just to see how it's going to work. And you'll get to the point where you can eyeball it and say, okay, I know I can fit another one this size in here. But see how I can hold my tool in there? I can kind of get an idea of how much space is in between. So if you lay down 2 dots and then go and lay down a third in the middle, that's kind of like your tester. So do 3 tester dots, 2 and then 1 in the middle, and see where that spacing is. And if it's too much space, either add more paint to your tool or go to a larger tool, the next size up. Will you be posting this live? I have to go shortly. So I don't post the lives after they're done. They are available through my Patreon. The recordings are available on my Patreon. Or if you choose to, it's set up right now so that you can purchase this. You can leave a tip of $1 or more on my website. And if you choose to leave a tip of $5 or more, I'll send you a link for the recording. So just know that if you go to the website right now, it still says $1. So you just need to get a quantity of 5. And then when I see the $5, I can send you the link to the remainder to the whole recording. Or like I said, the Patreon, it's $18 a month Canadian, and you get access to all of my previous tutorials. I want to say there's probably 10 of them on there now, and anything coming up in the future. All right, so there we go. Oh, thank you, Elizabeth. I appreciate that. It's always the fear, right? I hope it's fair. All right, so going back in, it's actually a little bit tight, but that's okay. These are going to look good. Did that help, Jan? All right, here we go. So I'm still using a size 4. So my rows in the very center started with micro daughter, then they went to a 1, then I did 2 rows with the number 2, 1 row with the number 3, and now I'm on a number 4. And see, these are still a little bit tight, but they're going to be okay. And I'm already starting to think of how we're going to do top dots on this. I want to do gold top dots, and do I do gold on top of the coral, or do I do gold on top of the green? Oh, I don't know. All right, there we go. Oh, okay. All right, let me know how you make out, okay, Jan? Okay, I'm scrolling back. Hey, friends, I need to sign off for today. I will try to catch you soon on the clock. Oh, it was good to see you, Rex. Take care of yourself, please. Hey, Kim, how are you? Sending lots of love, Rex. Hello, Leighton. Hello. Gold on green? Yeah, okay, we'll do that. Ooh, pewter on coral. All right. Oh, fantastic, Elizabeth. Get every last second in with you we can, right? All right, so that was a number 4. So now I'm going to a number 5. Now, even though my number 4 was a little bit tight, because I know that as I go further and further out from the center, that the size of the tool is going to make an impact. I'm almost wondering, guys, why don't we, so we can give it the time that it deserves, let's wait and we'll do this pattern next week. Okay, so we'll continue on and we will go with this pattern next week because this one's going to take a bit of time. And I think it might be a little bit too much to do the coral and that all at the same time. It's good to see you, Leighton. How have you been? I'm just going to clean off my tool here for a second. Oh, such a mess, Jamie. I almost have to go in with an X-Acto knife or something and scrape it off. It's terrible. I can tell which ones I use the most often too, though, right? All right, here we go. I've been good. Oh, I'm so glad you're doing good. I've been doing good too, thank you. All right. Oh, and I was using the wrong coral there. So I'm moving my wet paper towel back over my green, and I'm going to go in with the coral. Hello in Greece, Despina. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. All right, so I'm going in with a 5, going in with the coral. Still going to the right. So I don't want to go too much larger though, because I want to still make sure that I've got enough space here that they're not going to all be running together. So I'm not pushing down hard on the 5 at all. And spinny, spinny, spin. So just like last week, can you imagine just sitting and listening to your music and letting this pattern unfold and just kind of going on automatic? It's incredibly relaxing. And it's so gratifying because it develops quickly. You start to see some gratification fairly quickly. How's everybody doing? We doing okay? To any of the 43 people who are watching and haven't commented, hello. I hope you're doing good. And if you have questions, if you don't want to comment here, please don't hesitate to reach out and say hello if you have any questions at all, okay? Greece is on my list. That's on the bucket list for sure, to get to Greece someday. That'd be amazing. All right, here we go. Going in with the number 5 again now with the sage. And filling in the spaces. Oops, not enough paint on that one. There we go. What's your favorite thing to listen to when you're creating and you're just kind of getting into flow? I listen to a few different things. I listen to Jason Mraz. I've got another playlist that I've called Happy. It's my Happy playlist. And it changes quite often. I'm constantly adding and removing stuff off of that playlist. And I listen to a lot of Abraham Hicks on YouTube. That's a big one for me lately. I spent a lot of time listening to Abraham Hicks lately. Helps me raise my vibration and stay in a happy, light place. What do you guys listen to? Oh, I hope I'll visit soon too. I really hope so. You'll have to explore the different... Oh, I would love to. Love, love, love to. Pam, I am using for the sage green, it is Craft Smart. It is called Sage Green. Craft Smart Craft Acrylics, the matte finish. And then the coral is Deco Art, and it's called Coral Blush. And these are both matte finishes. All right, so now I'm going in with the number 6, and we're going to do some more of the green. We doing okay so far? Everybody doing all right? So we keep going here. This is kind of where I'm starting to see that those spaces are really opening up. So I'm going to kind of watch the sizing and starting to see. You will very quickly start to see, oh, that space is too big, or oh, that space is too small. You will start to recognize that, I promise. And if you don't, you stick your tool in there, do kind of like a dry measurement, or dot it. The worst thing that's going to happen is that you make a mistake and you have to fix it. Do we want to go over how to fix a mistake? If you would like me to go over how to fix a mistake, let me know in the comments, and we can definitely do that. I listened to my roommate. I listened to my roommates and my roommate and cats making too much noise. Ah, very zen, Jan. Very zen. Do I have any beginner tutorials? How to paint, put paint on the tools and other beginner tips? Kind of all of my tutorials have little bits of beginner tips like that, but I honestly don't, Sarah. So you know what I'll do? There's a couple different things you could do. One of them is spend some time scrolling through my Instagram and looking at some of the videos on there and see if that answers any questions for you. And if not, let me know. Have a look at those first and then let me know. And if that's, if there's a little bit more in depth that you would like me to get into with something, then shoot me a message on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, wherever you want to. And I will create a couple of videos specifically for you, Sarah. Okay. All right. Jade wants to see a mistake. So let me just take a really quick sec here. I'm going to make sure I'm caught up on comments, and then I'm going to show you something. So my favorite thing when I'm dotting is Bailey Sarian's Mystery, Murder, and Makeup. Oh, nice. Awesome. Ooh, Noreen's heading out to buy plants. Yes, please share a photo when you're done, Noreen. I'm excited to get to work on your birthstone mug, my dear. Monica, it's helping me to see you use 2 colors in a simple design. I want to do this art and feeling overwhelmed seeing all the... And that's the thing. It is so much easier than you expect it to be, but you gotta start at the basics. If you just learn this one pattern, and I'm not talking about the spirals, I'm talking about if you took one color and just all you did was row after row after row after row after row, you can have so much fun with that, and you can really get to practicing your spacing and everything, and then start adding bits and pieces onto that. Yeah, show the mistake fixing. Okay, all right, perfect. Okay, so anybody who's watching, please don't have a heart attack, because I'm going to do something that might give some people a heart attack. So I make a mistake and I put a dot right there. Right? People tend to yell at me. They're like, oh, my heart. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take a Q-tip or a cotton swab, anything that you can, and try and pull that wet paint off. Okay? I have these dotting tools that have a silicone brush on the end, but a cotton swab will work just the same. Oh yeah, that's true. Ish is the one that has the heart attack most of the time, and she's not here, so we're good. So now I have this bit of mess where I've got paint on top of other dots. The next thing you're going to want is a tiny paintbrush. Find the tiniest paintbrush you can. Okay? It's okay, Christina. We're okay, I promise. So I'm going to take a little bit of black paint, and I've got this tiny paintbrush. It's actually a size 0. You can get these at the dollar store, or you can get them at Michael's or Walmart. And I'm just going to go in and I'm going to paint over. And I'm going to paint over this coral dot. And instead of trying to screw around getting the paint on that one, I'm going to paint over that one as well. There are actual moments where you will gasp. You will probably have times when you cry. You will have times where you impress yourself with the knowledge of all the different curse words that you may not use, or even if you don't swear on a regular basis, you might find yourself wanting to. So it's normal. I promise you. Okay? It is totally normal. I painted a guitar last summer, and I had a moment where I rubbed my arm through about a quarter of the design. So imagine that I had this and I literally took my arm and just went swoosh, right over the top, smudged all of it, like 10 or 15 rows. I cried and I walked away, and I don't think I painted anymore at all that day, but it was fixable. Okay. That's where using the black base coat can be really, really helpful, because the black is going to cover over really, really well. Okay. Yeah, it's stressful. I get it. I totally get it. You guys are okay. All right, so let's keep going here. So now I'm gonna wait for those to dry, and I'm just gonna continue going on with the size 6 row that I'm doing around the outside, and we'll come back to that later. This is where it's important, though, to and you don't actually even have to. So that's not even true. I was going to say it's important to know what size tool you used, but I'm going to show you how you could figure that out. Oops. I made a really big one there too, didn't I? That one sage one is really big. I'm going to paint over that one too. This one's too big. Too big, too big. So I'm going to fix this one too. You will make mistakes. If you are holding yourself to a standard where you are only going to be happy with what you do, if you do not make mistakes, you will spend a lot of time in frustration, and you will question your abilities to do this, and you will question your skill at this. Mistakes happen every damn day. Become friends with them. And every single time you make one, just say, that's okay. I can fix this if I want to. You might find that you don't want to in some cases and say, nope, I'm done with this project. I don't want to look at it again, and you could move on. It's entirely up to you. You don't ever have to fix anything, right? Oh, I did it again. We're just going to go with it this time. We're just going with it. No, that's still going to be too big. There we go. That one's better. Okay, those ones are going to run in, so I got to do it again. It happens. It's okay. One of my first viral TikTok videos was of me making a mistake, and in one instance I said, you should have heard the curse words that came out of my mouth, and then in the next instant I fixed it and said, see, easy peasy, easy fix, no problem. And I took a lot of slack online for saying that, going, you just said you swore, and now it's easy peasy. Which is it? It's both. It is both. Right? It's going to happen. Make friends with it. And almost anything is fixable. So I'm just going to fix these ones. And then I will catch up on comments too. Sorry, I'm behind on those a little bit. All right. So let's see what we got. What do we got? Scroll back. Be still, my heart. Your talent teaching is a gift. Oh, Monica, that's so sweet. Thank you. Yes, you can breathe now, Renee. Oh, that's a good idea. Antibacterial gel, and it just pulls the paint off, Despina? That's really interesting. That's cool. I'm immune now. I've painted over entire projects and started over. Exactly, right? And that's one of the best things that honestly can happen, right? Because you just get to the point where you're like, I'm okay. It's not the end of the world. We can keep going, right? And you can still make beautiful, beautiful things, even if mistakes are made. Yeah, it is. It's for all of it, right? Have you ever heard that one where you say, I think there's a TikTok going around that says, you know, if you had 82,600, whatever the number is, I can't remember exactly. If you had $82,600 and someone stole $10 from you, would you give up the remainder of that 82,600 to get that $10 back? The answer, of course, is no. When you have 82,600 seconds in your day, you're going to let one person who takes 10 seconds and out of your day ruin your entire day? No, right? It's all going to be okay. Thickest lion I ever saw, totally. Yes, happy little accidents, Angela, totally. And yes, it's 3D. It's texture. You're adding texture. Yeah, and that's another really good point, Barb. Leave it and see if people notice. Usually they don't. It's an intricate enough design that you can quote unquote bury a lot of mistakes, right? So I'm just going to add a little bit more water to that paper towel. All right, here we go. So I'm going to go in with my tool and do the coral. What kind of sealer do you use? I have begun a new love affair with Mod Podge. I'm a big fan of Mod Podge. So Mod Podge is more commonly used for decoupage and some crafts like that. But it works great as a sealer. And they've got a bunch of different varieties. They've got a satin variety. They've got dishwasher safe varieties. I use their matte varnish. The reason I tried it is because I had run out of my Liquitex matte varnish. And sorry, I hadn't run out of it. I needed a new one because I think I had mixed some satin in with it, so it wasn't giving me a nice matte finish. And it was really, really frustrating because I love, 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 love the matte finish. It's kind of my thing. And I didn't want to spend another $30 on another bottle of Liquitex. So I thought, well, let's try Mod Podge, see how it goes. If I don't like it, it only cost me $10 and I'm good to go. So it's my favorite to use now. So I've got some gloss Mod Podge and I have some matte Mod Podge that I use. And it works really well as a sealer. I also got a tip from another dot mandala artist, Mindful Mandala Art on TikTok. She actually adds a little bit of water to her varnish and it helps to her Mod Podge, and it helps it spread a lot easier when she's putting coats down on a canvas piece. She uses it to cover her canvases and her wood pieces as well. Put googly eyes on the mistake and call it bug gate, right? How's Mod Podge for heat and water resistance? Does well for water resistance. I haven't tested heat resistance, to be honest with you. I'm not sure about that one. But it does really well with water resistant. All right, so now I got to go back into the sage. I'm going to fix this one. Back into the coral with the larger end. Fix this dot. And then back into the sage to fill in those ones. And here we go. So now I'm going to go in with a 7. We're going to try a 7 next, but it might be too small, but we're going to keep going and give it a shot. All right, so I'm going to get rid of the 6 and I'm going to find my size 7 and 8. Okay, here we go. All right, so we're going to start with the coral. I'm going to put my wet paper towel back over my other color. And I'm going to go back in with the coral and I'm going in with a 7. And we're just going to try it. And it's either going to be the right size or it's not. So far that space looks pretty good. I think that's a good space. I could always wipe off my tool and put a sage dot in there to see. But I'm just going to keep going with it. Now I'm not putting a ton of paint on my tool because I don't want these dots to be huge and to overpower anything. Here we go. So now I am wiping off the tool because I'm wondering if I made them the right size. So I'm going back in with the sage now, just to make sure that the spacing is what I want here. Here we go. And it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Not too big a space or anything. So we got lots. I think I'm going to make that one coral one a little bit bigger. This one here. And then we keep going. Put that back over the sage again so it doesn't dry out. Here we go. Here we go. All right, and I'll be back to the comments in another minute here. Oh, started singing. You guys don't need to hear that. That I promise you. Get caught up in the moment. Here we go. So far I've been able to go up just a single size. But that doesn't mean that that's going to continue. I'm guessing for the next row I'm going to have to go up 2 sizes, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay, bear with me 1 second here. I'm going to go in and do the sage row, finish off this sage row, and then I will come back to the comments, okay? one of the things that this is going to help you with too, we've talked about learning your paints and learning your tools, but this is going to develop muscle memory. The more repetition you get in there, you're going to develop muscle memory so that you typically dip the tool in and get the same amount of paint, and you're going to start to see consistency there with that, knowing how far you dip the tool into the paint and what that does, and is it the effect that you want. Right, so it's spacing it a little bit bigger. And that's normal too, to have some slightly uneven spacing as you go around. Don't panic. Do not panic with that, okay? It's totally good. And it will still work with the design. All right, so there we go. All right, let me... Yeah, there is one that is dishwasher safe. Yeah, there is a Mod Podge there. I've reached the curvature point in my rock where I have to wait for the paint to dry to avoid smudges. And that's a really, really good way to do it. Once you get out to the edge, you're going to need to be able to hold on to it from the center. Now, it may be dry enough, but you want to make sure it's really dry, because this paint, you could easily just hold it like this and imprint your fingerprint into the center dot pretty easily. So that's the thing with stones, is you're going to get out to about this point out here, and you're going to say, okay, I need to let it dry for an hour and then come back. Rub it in. What am I rubbing in? I don't know. I have a hard time with the flat tools. I do okay with the tips and the rounded tools, but the flat ones I mess up every dot. So the thing that with the flat tools, because I know what you're saying, the rounded, the metal ones with the balls on the end, those ones are great because they do a lot of the work for you, right? The flat ones are hard, especially when you're looking at the paint consistency. So the first thing that I would recommend you do is start practicing just doing dot after dot after dot to create that muscle memory, and maybe add a bit more paint. So let me show you something really quick, you guys. Let me just sidetrack for a second here. Okay, let's look at this little chunk here. So if I dip my tool in and I've got a good chunk of paint on there, I can let the paint do a lot of the work without putting my tool down very hard, right? If I only put a little bit of paint on, so see how this has a little bit there, I'm going to have to push my tool down harder, and I'm going to get little puckers in that dot. See how nice and smooth that one is? And this one has those little edges and almost little suction marks. That is because you don't have enough paint on there. So I would highly recommend adding a little bit more paint to your tool and trying that to see if that helps, Jade. And then just keep going. It's a good one, not too big of a space. Oh, sorry, Jan. All right, let's keep going here. I'm going up one size, going to an 8 for the next part of the sage one. Now, I think this one is going to be a good size too, but just for fun, this is how you can do a test. No, 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 no. Hang on. Hold on one second, guys. Anita? No, you can't come in, Daisy. I'm sorry. No, you can't come in. Hold on, guys. I'll be right back. No. Do you want to go outside? Go. Go. Get out. Good girl. Sorry, guys. Daisy was trying to come in, and her and Audrey fight all the time. So I just put her outside. She was good to go outside. All right. Back I come. All right, guys. Sorry about that. All right. Back in with the size 8. Oh, you're welcome, Jade. Awesome, Jan. Have a good rest of your day. It was good seeing you. Let me know how you make out and if there's anything I can do to help you, okay? Be good. So, again, so you can test this. So if you want to test and see if you're using the right size, then what you want to do is lay down a couple of dots. Be totally okay with having to potentially go in and fix it, and then go in and lay the dots in between. Best way to test it. If it doesn't work, then you can wipe them out and start over. Okay? Awesome. Have a good day, Jan. Thanks for coming. All right, well, we might as well keep going with the coral because I'm here. One of the other things too, you guys, is if you don't have a lot of paint in your palette, you could start to feel your tool touching the bottom. That's not something you want because you're not going to load the tool very well. So you want to make sure you've got lots of paint in your palette or in your little paint pot so that you're not potentially scraping the tool on the bottom, because that will pull paint off and cause it to look a little bit different and not load the tool very well. Oops. All right, here we go. Is everybody doing okay? Can add refereeing to your resume, right? Well, in this, I feel so bad because Daisy's a super sweetheart and she'll come and she'll sit on my lap and she'll hang out with me while I paint. But my cat and her just do not mix well. They need to sort their stuff out, really. But when Daisy wants to come in here, she climbs the gate. Like, I have a gate that separates off my art room from the entryway to the house, and she climbs the freaking gate, and you see her trying to squish her chubby little body through these little tiny slats in the gate, and it's just so sad. That's how I knew. I could hear the scratching. I'm like, what's that noise? It sounds like a climbing cat. All right, here we go. So I'm actually going to add a little bit more paint into my paint pot because I'm starting to feel my tool touch the bottom of that little divot in the palette. How's everybody doing? Christy, how are you doing? Here we go. You might find that a couple times, even once you develop that muscle memory, if you find that, hey, I'm dipping my tool and it feels the same as how I've been dipping it for a while, but I'm not coming back with as much paint, that usually means that your paint pot is a little bit too empty, right? They want what they want, and they're a pure life form, right? They're just pure, do what they want. Oh, I need to take a drink. Ah, that's better. All right. Back to the sage. I'm all caught up because I'm working on a teeny tiny little circle wooden pieces. Yay, fantastic. Good for you, Christy. Are you going to post pictures? We want to see. I'm so glad you're having so much fun with this. Christy does Pisanki eggs as well, and she is incredibly talented. Did you check out that TikTok profile I sent you, Christy? I'm thinking that there has to be some kind of Star Wars Harry Potter Pisanki that you could do. Mm-hmm. I love this song. The song is Have It All. And if you are looking to be uplifted, I would highly recommend checking out this song. All right, so we're going to do one more row. All right, let me scroll back. Geraldine, have to run. Happy Easter. Oh, you're most welcome, Geraldine. Give that family big hugs. Sending you lots of love. Will do. I haven't decided about top dots yet. That's okay. Wait and see what it... Sometimes the spiral is enough of a design that you don't want to do top dots. Totally up to you. I tend to stick to geometric patterns on my... thank you, because I'm good with straight lines, but not so good with realistic art. That makes sense. I get that. Mandy, hello. I'm Australian. It's 4 a.m. Oh my gosh. How are you conscious right now? Are you having fun with the dotting, Mandy? I hope you are. Photos are requested by Sharon too, Christy. I'm watching and learning, but doing a totally different pattern. That's okay. Anything that you can do that inspires you to try something different, do it. Doesn't have to be the same pattern. Do what you are feeling called to create. Okay, so I'm done with my size 8 now. So I now have to decide if I'm going to use a size 9 or a size 10. So I'm going to do the same test that I did before. I'm going to lay down 2 size 9 dots. And then I'm going to put, of the sage, and then I'm going to put, oh, that's way too big, I think. We'll see. And then I'm going to put one of the coral dots in between. So this is with my size 9. Oh, that worked. Yay! There's a lot of dumb luck in this art form too. Yeah, no kidding, 4 a.m. dedication. That's amazing. That's okay, Christy. I looked at it for a second. I'm like, oh, I know what happened. That was autocorrect. Oh, good. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Mandy. And that's the biggest thing, you guys. If you are not enjoying the process, the practice is going to be very difficult and very heavy. So make sure that you're doing the things that you enjoy. It's going to make a huge difference in the development of your skill. And it's going to make a huge difference in your designs and what you're able to create. One of my biggest hurdles is if I start a color scheme that I don't like and I have no choice but to continue on with it, that is extremely stressful for me. And it doesn't usually turn out as good as my other pieces because I'm not enjoying it. Or it takes me longer than my other pieces because I'm trying to wrap my head around a particular color scheme. And sometimes when I don't like it, I kind of write it off in my mind. Like, screw it. Whatever happens, happens. It's fine. Now, when you get out to these edges here, I'm going to show you something here in a minute. But your paint, especially if it's really watery, you are going to feel the pain of watery paint when you get to the edges because they can start to drip. So bear with me 1 second here. I'm going to finish the rest of this row of the sage. And then I'm going to hold this up and show you what I mean. Something to watch for when you get to your edges. Oops. Let me bring this down here a little bit more, and I'm actually going to just move you over here a little bit, get you a little bit better angle. So I am going to hold it in the center, even though it's not completely dry yet, but I just need to grab on it somewhere. Okay, so let's see if we can get a good close-up over here. So can you see on this dot here, and when we kind of look at it from the side, do you see how the paint is kind of pooling down at the bottom of the dot? Right? This one you can kind of see that it's starting to pull down and it's starting to dry at the top, and then there's this little pool of paint and it's hovering down at the bottom of the dot. If your paints are super watery, that's going to happen. Okay, so what you want to do, or what I typically do, is I will take it if I see they're super watery and I will hold on to it and I will literally flip it upside down. Gravity will bring that paint back up to the top of the dot and help to space that out a little bit. Oh, thank you, Kim. How are you doing, love? I hope you're doing good. What do you do when you're halfway through a design and you decide you hate it? So I either will paint over it and start again, or I will chuck it and start over. There's nothing wrong with abandoning a piece if you hate it. You have to love it. You have to. Or you have to at least like it and enjoy the process of it, right? So I'll literally hold this upside down for a little bit until it pulls some of that paint back up. And now you can kind of see that it's not pulled down at the bottom quite so much. So I'm going to keep that upside down for a second. Okay, so instead of 3D designs next week, I'm going to post another one, and we are going to create a design like this next week where it's kind of embedded, almost like this interlocking look. I would hope to do this today, but the spiral took up a perfect amount of time to do our own tutorial with it. So we will do this one next week. And then what we will do the week after, whoops, noise, is we will work on a 3D design. So see how it kind of looks like it's jumping right out of the page at you? Isn't that cool? So we're going to play with that the week after. So next week is the kind of interlocking pattern. The week after is going to be that 3D design. All right, I'm going to go back in and we're going to finish the coral on this one. Pam, what do you do when you're... Oh, you're... Sorry. If you paint over it, it is full of bumps. Yes, so if I'm going to paint over it, I need to be committed to the design and just change the colors because the bumps will have an impact there. Now, once it's fully dry, you have a really good shot of being able to get rid of those bumps by sanding them down and then doing a new base coat. Sanding down should help you there. Oops, I got paint on that paper towel now. Ah! Fold that over. Here we go. All right, so now we're going to go in and we're going to fill in all of the rest of the coral ones. Yeah, so if it's bumpy, it will leave bumps, especially if your paint is a little on the thicker side. So what you would want to do is wait until it's really, really dry, like even give it 24 hours to really, really dry, and then give it a good sanding. Because the gypsum powder on these stones, plaster of Paris is really easy to sand, and the gypsum does sand down as well. Like I can sand down that original little dot in the middle, the little nub that helps me find the center. You can sand that down. So even though it's gypsum and it's plaster and really strong, you can still do that sanding. So I would do that, and you wouldn't risk ruining the stone or anything. So yeah, let it dry, sand it down, and then paint over it if it's super lumpy. If you're okay with doing the same design, then you can just follow those dots kind of like a template, the bumps as a template, almost to recreate that same design. Like maybe it's just the color that you didn't like or whatever that one thing is that you want to change, but you're still happy with the overall design, then you can use it as a bit of a template in the background. Kim, are you home tomorrow? Can I stop by for a quick visit? Kim lives in the old apartment building that I used to live in before I moved out to the farm. All right, there we go. So, just for fun, before we kind of get to the end of this one. Oh, you're welcome, Pam. I'm going to throw on a little bit of the gold for the top dots. So, just for fun, we're going to put a top dot and the middle dot. So when I'm looking for what size of a top dot I want to do, I look at the size tool and I look to see how much of a border around that tool. This is going to be nice because it's going to have a nice little border around there. I'm home sewing 2 quilt tops. Okay, awesome. I'll shoot you a text when I'm leaving Mom and Dad's to let you know I'm on my way. I just got to the edge of my second little circle and I'm loving the spiral. Isn't it fun? So imagine now again, when you have two colors, this is how you can then create 4 color spirals. Or how you can create, where is it? This one. 8 color spirals. Right? So it's looking at that total number of dots and how can you divide that up and how many colors does that mean that you can use? Right? That's where the math comes in. All right, let's go for some gold. So not fair. I know, she's whipping along. You did the 4 color one. Christy, look at you. That's amazing. I have to hire you to work in my sweatshop. There we go. So I'm going to actually add some more paint to that. And this should help to camouflage that little bump that was in the middle. Oh, the gold looks nice on the sage. Is that Mod Podge? Looks like resin. Yes, this is resin. So I have this other mold that I poured some resin in. I had this mold here that I poured some resin in, and it created these little resin discs. Where are they? Where's my little container? I have so much crap sitting around here, you guys. I need to do some major cleanup. So I made some black ones and I made some clear ones. So they come out of the mold and they've got this little bit of a lip here. I don't know if you can kind of see that little bit of a lip. So I paint on it and then I pour resin over top of it and it gives this kind of domed finish here, and that lip holds the resin in so I don't have to tape it off or anything. And then cover it in resin, and then the design is sealed in the pendant. I love them. So I got a bunch of these that I need to get making because they're so fun to make. I made a few others. So I did that spiral one that I showed you. And then I did these ones the other day. So these ones are waiting for more resin. But they're nice and tiny. They're probably about the size of a little bit bigger than a toonie here in Canada. All right, let's zoom back in. Let me scroll back. The little discs are barely bigger than a toonie. Yes. Yep. That's about the size of my pendant. So not too many rows at all. Renee, just to have just popped by. Nobody here to just pop by. Do you know other? I could. I don't know if I will or not, but that's totally possible. You could alternate it and do more and more top dots as you'd like. Oh, I see, Renee. There you go. Sharon will come visit. Thanks, guys. Yeah, hell yeah, let's go to South Africa. Why not? I thought it was over the paint. I never used resin. No, I'm still learning resin. So that will be something that I will add to my Patreon and we'll do some tutorials on that soon. This is only the second time that I've done any major stuff with resin, so I'm still learning an awful lot, but I will happily share what I learn. So yeah, I do the resin, then I paint on the resin, and then I put more resin on it and it seals the paint within the resins on top of the paint. Thanks, guys. How are we doing with this tutorial, guys? Are you feeling comfortable? Did this help? How are you feeling with it all? All right, so now here's the other thing though. If I want to start going and doing more top dots, when I'm dotting, I normally rest my hand on the stone. So I'm actually not going to go through and do any other top dots on this yet because I don't think I have an actual dry spot to rest my hand to be able to do that. But that's going to look pretty. So I will go through and finish this off. And then I can decide, do I want to do another row after this is dry around the outside? And then you can keep going if you want to, or do I want to create a border? How do I want to do that? We'll talk about that one of these days too. When you get to the point where your design's done, but you still have space left, what are the different things that we can do to kind of quote unquote finish off a piece? Okay, so we'll add that there too. Thanks, guys. We should all go. Oh my gosh, that would be so amazing. You're welcome, Andy. Okay, good. I'm glad that's helped. Yeah, I'm locked down right now too. We just started another lockdown today. Spiral looks easier to follow than the other ones I've seen. Yes. Yeah, the spiral is a fairly easy pattern. Hopefully my other tutorials are helpful as well because I try to just get the verbal diarrhea going and I just tell you everything as much as I can of what's going on in my mind. So, but let me know if there's a specific technique or something that you want me to show. I can definitely add that to the list of upcoming tutorials. So we're going to have this pattern next week. Then the week after we'll go to 3D. I've got a couple different requests on the Facebook group for upcoming tutorials. So if you join the Facebook group, take a look through the post and you'll see one that I posted where I'm asking for different things that people want to see in tutorials. Please comment on that post. I would love to have those ideas and that inspiration. We'll add mold making. Maybe we can do one that's using gypsum powder and mold making and resin in the same tutorial because they'd both be about an hour. So that could work really well. But go from there. Oh, you're welcome, Pam. I'm so glad that you enjoyed yourself. Thank you so much, you guys. So we'll start the long goodbye. Let me just cover a couple of business things. So Currently today's tutorial is listed on my website, and it is listed for $1. That is because the way I try to do my tutorials is to say, listen, it's always free to attend live. And tips are optional, certainly never expected, but I want people to be able to, even just $1 if you want to, okay? If you choose to tip, so if you change it from a quantity of 1 to a quantity of 5 or more, that would give you a total of $5 or more, I will send you a link to the recording of the tutorial. After today, or actually after tomorrow night, so as of Monday morning, that will jump up to $5, which is the standard amount for any of my previous tutorials. So you can get them individually, or if you want to join the Patreon, it's $13 US or $18 a month Canadian, and that gives you access to all of my previous tutorials, anything in the past and anything coming up in the future, okay? So if you have questions about any of that, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. The Facebook page is .Mandala Addicts by Mandala Love Affair. Please join in there. Make sure that you accept the note that you agree with the group rules. We want to create a wonderful, loving community that's supportive of each other, and we can help each other, you know, grow and keep developing our skill. So if you'd like to join the Facebook group, we'd love to see you. Just make sure that you acknowledge that you agree to the group rules. If your request comes through and it doesn't have that agreement on there, it'll get declined. You can always request again, though. Okay. What else? I do digital art too. I've got downloadable coloring pages. I do all kinds of different stones. I released some custom order slots for my custom mugs on the website today. So they are there. The pendants are there. And anything that you'd like to see me do, just let me know. Let me know. I'm here on Facebook, on Instagram, and on TikTok. So lots of different ways to reach me. Please do not hesitate to reach out if you have questions, okay? So let me just scroll back and we'll see. So yeah, if you have ideas for what you'd like to see for future tutorials, please make sure you go to the Facebook group and comment on that post, or just shoot me a message and let me know a request so we can get that in there. Oh, and the stone auction. I've got that stone auction going on with Mall Rocks on Instagram to raise money for the Native Women's Association, and to help raise money to help with the missing and murdered Indigenous women issue in Canada. So that's going on. It's totally cool if you are not, it's not something you're interested in as far as bidding on that auction. If you would be willing to share it, that would be amazing. The more eyes we can get the auction in front of, the better chance we have of raising a good chunk of money, which would be lovely. And yeah, if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out, okay? Oh, thank you, Renee. Oh, I'm so glad you enjoyed it, Pam. Thank you, Despina. Yep, next week again, every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will post the events on the Facebook page so that you can set Facebook to remind you of the upcoming event. And just always know that if you're not able to make it and it's a topic you really want to see, within 48 hours after the tutorial being done, the video will be available. So if you do go today to do the $5 for today's tutorial, just know that the tutorial will get emailed out on Monday. Okay, it takes me a little bit of time to get it off of my phone and onto YouTube. Hi, Jerry Lynn. Doesn't have my... I don't want to call you Dot. Oh, I'll have to put my name on there. Sorry, yes. My name is Jamie. I'll have to remember to introduce myself. My name is Jamie Merrithew, so any of the posts that you see by Jamie Merrithew, that's me. Sharon is my admin on that Facebook group, so you'll get lots of information. We've got a Dot Mandala challenge for the month. That's a great challenge, great ways to practice, so definitely jump in there and see if that's in there. I didn't post the auction on TikTok yet, but I will be doing that. I ran out of time. Ran out of time for my posting today. Oh, you're most welcome, Sue. Thank you guys so much for choosing to spend some time with me today. I really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. And like I said, any questions at all, don't ever hesitate to reach out and let me know, okay? It's nice to meet you too, Elizabeth. Oh no, Cindy. How are you? It's good to see you. Yeah, it's gone by really quick. We had, yes, I am another plaid partner. Yes, thank you for mentioning that too. Yeah. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. And the tutorial will be today's tutorial will be posted up on to Patreon by the end of the day on Monday. Anybody who chooses to tip $5 or more and gets it off the website, it will be emailed out by end of day on Monday as well. Love you. Thanks for another terrific lesson. Oh, you're most welcome. Only here for Fred encounters. We have a donkey here on the farm named Fred, and I had some lovely snuggle time with him this morning, Barb. Thank you so much for your time. I'm almost done with my drawing, my friend. Oh, that's wonderful, Angela. I hope you had a good couple hours and gave you a good excuse to sit down and just create. Am I an affiliate? I am, I guess, kind of an affiliate for plaid for the paint, but nothing else though. Nothing else right now. Fred is pretty handsome. I'll have to get some videos of Fred on TikTok and on the Facebook group too. All right, you guys. Well, this is it for today. We'll do this one tomorrow. We'll do this one next week, and then we'll do the 3D designs the week after. I think we've got enough ideas to keep us going for a good 4 or 5 weeks, which will give me plenty of time to get more gypsum powder and get some more resin ready to go, and we'll plan that as a tutorial as well. So keep an eye on the events on my Facebook page, and you'll see what's coming up. The auction is on my Instagram. Oh, you're welcome, Despina. I'm so glad. Pam, do I have a line? No, we're poached for Martha. I'm keeping my ear to the ground, though, so if I find out, because there's no way that Martha Stewart's just going to completely get rid of an entire line of paint. I think they're just the affiliation with Plaid and Michael's is gone. I would not be surprised at all if we see her come out with her own line that we can get somewhere else. So if I hear anything, I will let you know. But for right now, yeah, if you see any Martha paints, grab them because you're not going to see them again for long. No problem, Cindy. You want to shoot me a message and let me know? And we can definitely chat for sure. You're welcome, Margaret. So the auction is on my Instagram. If you go to my Instagram and look at today's post, there's details on the auction there. I'm so glad too, Elizabeth. Is everything okay, Cindy? Just let me know what you need, okay? Just shoot me a message. You can shoot me a message on Patreon too. All right, awesome, guys. If you have any other questions, though, please don't hesitate to reach out. And I'll look forward to seeing you guys again next week. And hopefully in the Facebook group or the Facebook page along the way. Have a great rest of your day, a wonderful Easter weekend, and just try and make sure that you're spending some time doing something that you love, just purely for the joy of it. I'll pop on here. Oh, that's Audrey and the cat's in the window. How can I change this one? Here we go. Hi, guys. Nice to meet you. This is me in my little studio. Oh, hair's doing something funky. And oh my goodness, it's time to dye it. Those are not the same color roots as the rest. All right, sending you lots of love, you guys. Please take care of yourselves and sending you big love and lots of hugs. Bye. Today.